But when you were
How
a
about
kid
that?
and went and get chestnuts, I don't know, when we were in school, is that what you?
Sure, yeah. Here we are, April 1996, April
when you
13th,
played ball?
over Uncle Rudy and Aunt Lucy's.
I was telling somebody about when we lived in Pennsylvania, they would go on hikes, the kids.
Mm-hmm.
Well, we used to go on hikes way out in the woods. You remember that?
Yes, sure.
And they had chestnut trees out there, and would hike out there, and all the way down to the chestnut trees and come back. Boy, that was a big outing for us.
Where did you live then?
In Janesville.
In
when we were
Janesville?
kids
Mhm.
out there. Now they talk about hiking, but they don't hike too much anymore. Everybody's scared to hike, unless
Well,
they're
you
in
can't do
places
it
where.
nowadays. Even when we were in
populated.
school, Rudy,
Uh,
the wagon would come with the horses,
Yeah.
and we'd pop in there, classes. That
Where did
was
the
fun.
horses take you to class?
Huh?
Did the horses take you to class? Take you to school?
Well, that was our outing for the day, like here they go to baseball games or something. We used to go in a wagon with the horses and out in the
Yeah.
woods and pick chestnuts and look around.
How about when you moved to, Aunt Jessie, when you moved to Bridgeton and you got all dressed up? What were you saying one day? You got all dressed up and they moved you to Bridgeton and they put you all in a wagon or something to get over here?
No, that was a truck.
In a truck and they were all dressed up?
Rudy,
How about-
when we came from Pennsylvania to New Jersey, tell them about that. Then we
Yeah.
got to Philadelphia and we came to.
Well, first thing, there wasn't any transportation, so just by luck, a jitney bus moved into Janesville, and we all piled in a bus and went to Tyrone. And late at night, over that big mountain. Then
many
we got
were
the
we?
train, came all the way to Philadelphia. Then they picked us up there with another big truck
Yeah,
up
but
there.
when we got to Philadelphia, we were gone wild. We didn't know what we were looking at.
You saw all the big buildings and everything looked so different.
You know, Nancy, when we was in Janesville, when we were kids, Pop bought a horse and a wagon,
Mm-hmm.
and he used to sell fruit. Well, my brother Fred, he wasn't that old, but he used
were
to
kids.
go around with the truck, and either me or Tony would go with him. I was younger, and I'd go up to the house to see if they wanted something. But there's a lot of big hills out there, and one time when
Out
I
in
was
Janesville?
with Fred,
Yeah.
yeah, one time when I was with Fred, coming down one of them hills, the horse broke loose. There was 17-year locust at that time, and some of them fell on the horse's head,
Huh.
and it took off and run down there. I remember Fred said, hang on and look back, see if we lose any fruit. And we had to go all the way down that hill and halfway up the other hill before the horse stopped.
Calmed down.
Then another time, the horse fell over.
Lots of stories.
Well, Fred, he was just a young boy, about 15, so he didn't know how to raise it, and he sent me up to the farmers up there, and they had a horse, and he picked the horse up and pulled it and got it back up.
Tell me about when you went on this ice and you went down the hill and you cracked your head.
Well, over there, we used to sled ride, and we had to do it the easy way, or the hard way.
Still have that one.
I'd look under the sled and guide with my feet. And I was waving at somebody up on a hill there, and when I looked down, that's when I hit the tree.
Oh, no.
It busted my
They still got the
my
scar
nose
there.
wide open in there, and I still have a little scar after all
Yeah,
these
it's
years.
Wow.
all the
And
time.
then nobody was there to.
Here, Paul Brill was one of the guys there, and then I happened to, when we went back when we were younger, I happened to go up Ramey, then moved to Ramey, and they recognized me. Him and his sister recognized me.
I can't even remember
We
that.
talked about when we were kids, Remember the Paul Brills lived there?
And then tell them about when you were ping pong player. You was. That was.
Oh, well, we don't talk about it.
Yeah.
We
He
brag.
was a good ping pong player.
Yeah, you was.
We had a lot of fun when we were kids. That's all I can tell you.
How about
Yeah, you didn't need too much to have
But there
fun.
wasn't too much
You
of
made
it.
your own bats, own balls, own toys,
Mm-hmm.
and
They have fun. They're all
that's the way we had fun.
Do you remember when you moved here to Bridgeton? When you moved here to Bridgeton?
No,
do you
no,
remember
we were in
when?
Do
Pennsylvania.
you remember
Uh,
when you moved to Bridgeton.
Yeah, I remember well, yeah. I was
How
11.
how old do you think you were?
I was 11 when I moved.
Around 11?
Yes.
What was it like here?
To move over here,
Yeah.
I cried when I left Janesville and I never got over it. My heart was always with Janesville. That's why we always went back, me and my brother, Tony.
Mm-hmm.
Victor not too much because he was pretty young,
Yeah.
you know, but we always went back. And
He was a good,
there were some things there that I wished I'd have thought about it when I was a little older, you know, and remembered. There was a place down in the woods, us kids used to go down there, you know, kids are always looking for a cabin or something, you know, and this place had big slabs of stone. They had to be made, they had to be put there by somebody special, you know, and it was
Daddy not as much.
like on a roof like, you know, and these big slabs of stones, and I often wondered, why didn't I go back down that woods where that they was, just to see what they looked like when I got older.
I like the fish.
They had to be put by old-time people, maybe
Yeah.
Indians or something like
Uh-huh.
that, you know.
Yeah.
I wish
And,
Ryan was.
Then when I went back, then I couldn't find it anymore. And my nephew over there, they didn't even go down there and play down there.
Oh, no?
You know? And they didn't know where it was.
Mm-hmm.
But you
Do you remember-
ping pong player, Rudy? You should tell him how nice
Ah,
fun you had.
How old were you all, like, around the Depression? Were you?
well, we was
Oh, we were here in
working.
Depression.
That's what she is
38.
here. in
Yeah.
Bridgeton.
Were you here? Were you living here?
I was 24 or something.
What was that
No,
like?
Not 24, Rudy. You got
Well,
married when you were 20.
1938. Well,
Oh, you mean
1933.
1924.
Well, 1933, that's when I went
Got
in
married when
walkathon.
you
See, it was
were
like a depression. There was no work, no
Depression.
nothing. What we work, a couple of days a week. So I figured, what do I got to lose? I wanted to do something like that, so I did it and went in there.
What'd you do?
I went in a walkathon.
The walkathon.
It's a dance. They
It was,
you won.
this Red Scout was the master ceremony.
Oh. Were you, like, walk for a lot or
Oh, yeah, yeah,
dance-a-thon?
For how many?
They-
We had
there's
the
a-
record then. I don't know if it still stood.
3 months.
We walked.
3 months you danced?
Yeah, but we
Explain
worked
to
3
her what
days and
walkathon
3
was.
nights
She
without
was-
stopping.
Yeah, I don't know what it was. What was it?
They're couples.
Uh-huh.
Dancing, and they wouldn't stop, and
They
they'd
didn't
sleep.
dance
As a matter of fact, there's a famous play, which I can't remember the name of it, about a walkathon. And they danced. They
I saw
Yeah,
They
we
kept
walked.
moving and moving and moving for how many hours, Rudy?
What,
3 months.
309 hours. Then,
For 3 months you didn't get to sleep?
They would try to
Well,
make you
they-
fall. You'd walk backwards, frontwards, bend over because, you know, you've been walking for a day and night steady, you know. You could easily fall over and that you'd be done. But the thing that should be interesting to you, your dad was a little baby like that.
Mm-hmm.
And Red Scout used to pick him up and take him around the stand, you know.
Oh,
he
yeah?
used to walk in there. And
So cute. That was really- it's cute.
As cute as Ryan?
Huh?
As cute as Ryan?
Ryan.
How about World War II? Do you remember what that was like? Anything?
Daddy says it changed.
well, I later found out, I never knew why I wasn't being called, but every factory or any big business are allowed some key men that they needed there. At that time, I was pretty active, keeping things going, like
At the
sports and
OI?
all that. Yeah,
At the OI?
yeah, and I later found out by my supervisor. He said, you know, the reason he was never called is because he was picked as one of the key men. They have to leave so many key men, I guess,
Uh-huh.
in a big business like that.
Mhm.
That's why I never got called. Now, Tony got called, Victor got called.
How come Uncle Tony didn't go in?
Well,
He was
he
supporting Mom.
failed something.
He was helping to support Pop and Mom,
Yeah, he was
wasn't he?
supporting Grandma and Pop. Grandpa.
Well, whatever it was, but he went, he applied.
Oh, yeah.
He was going to go in the Navy.
Uncle Vic went in,
Yes.
right?
In the ser-
Yes.
yeah,
He
the
was
Army,
the baby.
the Air Force.
Where did he go over or?
Oh, yeah. Yeah. he
Yeah.
was,
Jim.
He was in England, Germany, Austria, I think.
Then he had an opportunity to get a flight to Italy, but his time was up to come back home, so he figured, well, he better come back home.
Uh-huh.
It's better to come home and go there.
What was it like over here when the war was going on? Do you remember?
Well, over here, all the cars, they just had a little slat like that, just for your lights. You didn't have full headlights or nothing.
Oh.
You just had a little slit to drive. And
And
now a lot of the places,
We couldn't
they
get
would
butter.
we couldn't
darken
get
their
butter.
windows
I
and
remember
all,
butter. I remember
like
butter.
maybe in Owens, they would darken a lot of windows, a lot of industry that dark windows in case planes did come over and bomb.
Oh, really?
They wouldn't be able to get a good view, you know.
Oh.
Is that why they wouldn't
Huh.
let you have lights? I didn't know you couldn't have, you
Oh,
didn't
it's
have
yeah.
lights in the car.
It's dark all the time.
Man, all the ones
I
like
didn't
Joyce,
know.
when you was a
What do you
little
call it
girl,
when
you and
the,
Jean,
Like
we
that.
was riding around all at once. The sirens would blow, and wherever you was, you had to stop. You couldn't go. They had guys all over the city that would stop you. And I remember Yins was crying. They said, "No, we can't let you go."
What do you
had to
mean?
stay there until it was
The
over.
sirens?
Yes. Well,
What was
that
it?
more or less practice, like you know, when,
Oh.
you,
Air raid.
when you
Air
go to
raid.
school, they have fire drills.
Uh-huh.
Well, these were more or less drills, just in case planes did come over.
And what did you have to do?
Wherever we was, we would have to stop.
Just stay there?
You stay in the car or get out of the car?
No,
Yeah.
no,
No,
it's
no,
on
you
that
stay in the
street,
car.
you stayed on the
You
street.
stayed in
didn't
the car,
run.
and then you had to go back.
See, it wasn't like over there, the planes did come over and they had places to go down the basements or
Right.
maybe in,
When
if you was in the
get
city
butter and
subways
stuff.
or somewhere
Rations,
like that.
Ration.
Well,
Yeah.
down here, all we do is practice
Remember that?
in case we would be alerted, you know.
Uh-huh.
And rationing, Rudy.
Yeah, we had rationing too.
Everything was rationed, gas was rationed.
How did that work? You go to the store and you could only buy a certain amount, or
If they had it.
if they even had it?
They just gave you so
Or
much.
you got so much.
I can
It
remember-
depended how many
See how we
kids you had.
suffered.
I was very little, of course. And
You
Mom
barely remember.
barely remember. And you would have like a book with these rations in, like with stamps in
Yeah.
it.
Yeah.
And we'd go down to the butcher and I
Just
guess
give you
you'd
some
give us a note what you wanted us to
Yeah,
get.
they
We'd give
used
it
to
to the
walk down the
butcher
corner store.
and then he'd take out the rations to go with it.
Well, there was
Remember that?
times when you go up for gas, you had to drive up there and you was allotted 2 gallons. I would go up Diz, maybe he'd give us an extra gallon or something. And you couldn't ride as much as you wanted to because, you know, you was only allowed so much
And then
gas.
tell her the book that you made from all the soldiers.
Oh, yeah.
The book you
He made a
made,
book of all
Oh,
the
that you
troops.
had now, that you
Yeah.
couldn't even show
He
Nancy.
has it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I saved, every day in the news they would have stories of different one or just a picture of them, and I saved
The
all them. And
soldiers.
People
Put 'em all
from
together.
Bridgeton?
Yeah.
From Bristol.
From Bridgeton? Oh,
And you
wow.
know what, what call just died, you know, our old neighbor down there.
Who died?
DeSantis.
The one,
DeSantis.
our neighbor down there.
Harry
Harry
DeSantis. Harry DeSantis.
DeSantis. I had sent him a letter, and I was going through some of my letters, and he was answering. He thanked me for sending him a Christmas card. He said, I just met a nice girl in England. He was in England.
Oh,
Probably his
Harry,
wife, you know.
Harry,
And I wanted to
yeah.
show him, and
Oh, you never got to it?
No.
never got to it. I even Orlando,
Yeah.
over in Jamesville,
Yeah.
Orlando.
Uh-huh.
I even got a card back from him that I used to send
That
him.
He has a
cards,
box
you know.
of letters that he got from.
But Rudy,
from
tell,
the
that
service, 'cause he
book
corresponded
is
with
so
them.
Uh-huh.
nice.
I have
Yeah,
a
you should
lot
get
of
it out.
letters of all the ones that were in the service, and I used to write to them, and they'd write back to me. Some were way over in China, some were in Africa, and England, and Italy, from all over, you know. And I have a lot of them letters, you know.
He still has the walkathon letters
Tell him
too.
how we used
Oh, wow.
to plant on the table.
What's polenta?
You know, not only
Corn
ounces.
mush.
Oh, mm-hmm.
Come here.
How about you? What do you remember, Brett?
Come here.
How about your parents? What were they like?
Oh, they were wonderful. Yeah,
I
I
don't
guess
think I've
we
heard
all,
much about them.
they started all our traditions and we kept them up and
Yeah.
we was always.
Because they
happy.
came right from Italy, right?
Yes.
My dad
Now,
lived,
my mom, when she come over from, when we come over from Jamesville, she was old, you know, and, but when we came over, you know how old she was?
Mm-mm.
Joyce is older than what she was when we come over. And we thought she was so old.
Well, she
back
looked
in
a
the
lot
day.
older in them days.
Remember Chiquita?
yeah.
It was old. It was only 70s. To us, only 70s.
Oh, your parents or your
No,
your
this is
grandparents?
aunt.
Your aunt.
She would be
Okay.
my mother's aunt.
Uh-huh.
And her and there wasn't too many real old ones
Tell her
like
how
that.
we'd sit around the black stove and Mom would tell us stories in
Yeah.
Italian.
Uh-huh.
Danny
She
spoke
read a
Italian.
lot, Mom,
Mm-hmm.
and she'd tell us these stories.
And
And
then
then tell
I.
her we'd play that game with
Yeah. And
she'd put a nickel in there.
Yeah.
Oh God, that nickel went such a far.
and she,
We got so much candy out of a nickel.
she told us them stories, Nancy, and I remember them. And when Joyce and Jean and them were small, I passed them stories on to them. When their children were growing up, I told them stories. I remember with Brian, she said, go up to bed, and I told them stories that Mom used to tell us.
About the three
Now,
brothers.
I told them to my great-granddaughter the other day, and she wanted to hear the one about the two brothers and the one about the three brothers.
What were their names? What were your parents' names?
Alfred
I don't remember.
and Rosa.
What was your mother's maiden name?
Vagnerelli.
Vagnerelli.
You know, Sergio.
I didn't know that.
See, Sergio's father would
She
be
knows
my
Sergio.
mother's brother.
No.
Yeah, you know, Sam.
You
No.
don't know.
Bruno and Lisa.
Uh-uh.
Lisa had real curly hair. You stayed.
Oh yeah, yeah. I do. Mm-hmm.
Patty stayed with her once. Summer.
Yeah, I know who they are, but I don't see them very much. So yeah, but I do.
Nancy,
Mhm.
my grandmom's mother, right, was a Cherry. You know the Cherries out in Seabrook? They talk, well, your mother would know them.
Mm-hmm.
The Cherries, right?
Yes.
So who was that?
My grandmom, their mother,
Okay.
No.
Her
So
mother.
their parents?
Clementine.
her mother,
Clementine.
Clementine.
Clementine. Okay.
She was a Cherry. That's how we're related to the Cherries.
And you know how the tradition started that we give what we call a choco, you know, Christmas. We all give,
Christmas Eve.
we used to give a
You know,
nickel.
they
and
give-
then
Oh, the money.
Money.
The money,
a
right.
quarter, then after a while 50 cents, and then $1.
Yeah, it's still
It all
gone.
started with Pop. I remember all we would get, there was Uncle Louie, Uncle Jules, and Uncle Raymond, and Pop, and they would give us a choco, maybe a nickel for
A choco?
one or
What
a
does
dime.
choco mean? Money?
Huh?
Money?
Maybe it does.
Maybe, you know, and it all
Maybe.
started then, and then that tradition went on, and
It's down. How many
we
generations?
come over here
now?
and you start having a lot of
Still doing it.
kids, and
Still going
we
there.
think it's
Well,
great.
Well, be.
Yeah.
And, something for
When did that start? The whole Christmas Eve
With
thing?
Mom and
From
Pop,
Italy.
when we were little kids,
About
we
five
was all little
five
kids.
generations, about five
And,
generations
and
now.
it started with them.
Wow.
I imagine they brought it back from
And
Italy.
you know what? Then Mom was telling the stories about now, we had to put something out for them to eat when they go by. What did they Mom call them, you know? And I believed them. We'd go to bed. I remember I was so small, go to bed. And I was expecting to see that people come in for Christmas.
What people?
Well,
Santa Claus.
Like Santa?
a myth. They're myths.
Uh-huh.
But we used to believe it, that they're the ones that brought everything for Christmas, and we had to put, they was busy, so Mom would have to put something on the table, leave it there all night for them when they
It wasn't
Oh,
come into
food?
our house
Food?
to have something to eat.
Oh.
But
But you
that-
didn't call it Santa?
No, that Santa was something different.
Well,
This is,
it really was that
It
in their
means-
way,
it meant
permitted,
Santa.
because
Yeah.
But it
over
wasn't called
there,
Santa.
They celebrated, they didn't gifts at Christmas, they got gifts in, Epiphany, is that what it is?
On
in
the
January?
Epiphany? Yeah,
Yeah.
on Three Kings Day?
That's when they
January
use it.
6th.
All Europe does that though.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Like France,
yeah.
the Greek people,
Yeah.
that's when they celebrate
they
their
do.
gifts.
Mm-hmm.
Oh my God, they'll be tired of looking at our faces.
You want to take a break? All right, we'll stop.
We have to go. Brett, we have to go. Your daddy's picking you up.
Everything was so tin container like, you know, and we never got nothing like that. And boy, after she left, boy, we ate it up. And when she came back for it, Mom had to send one of us kids up there to buy a new one for her.
No, Rudy, because then she said, no, that's all right.
Yeah, well, yeah,
Yeah.
that's right.
We didn't have to give back, because we got that George over in the other room.
And one time when
But
we
we
were
had a
kids out there, we used to go
wonderful,
pick
wonderful
berries
life.
out in the woods, raspberries. And we was in this lady's property, you know. And me and this Hebrew and all of us, we got away. But she caught her. She couldn't run fast.
They didn't wait on. We'd get straw, and these people would buy them and make jam out of them.
Yeah,
See, then we'd sell them and make a couple pennies.
a couple of pennies.
I went with my brothers, and they ran faster than I did, and the lady caught me. What happened?
What'd she do to you?
We used to
Scared
go
me
with
to death.
we used to go with a bucket. Like when we went to school, we had a bucket. We'd keep our lunch in there for school. And this bucket, for some reason or other, I don't know why, but we always had water in it to keep it clean or what. And I remember we spin it around and keep it from dropping out, you know.
He's like, bye-bye.
All right, let me turn it off.
And I used to go, I was a little smaller. I couldn't help chop the trees down and all, but every Christmas, with my older brothers, Uncle Tony and Uncle Fred, we would go out and get a Christmas tree. I remember we'd look at them and pick one out and chop it down. And,
Oh, look at him.
Okay, I'm gonna stop now.
Okay.
All right.
If he hadn't got sick, would have probably ended up in Newark. And maybe you wouldn't have been here now.
Oh.
And,
Well, what do you mean he was sick? I didn't know. You were very sick?
Real double pneumonia and
When? How old was he?
Yeah.
the doctors.
Grant, sit
Like
over there.
10 years old,
Go ahead, Jesse, then you.
10, 11 years
Were
old.
you that old?
Oh, sure,
That was pretty
1929.
What happened? You just got really sick,
I had
or?
pneumonia.
Double pneumonia.
Double
And
pneumonia.
when he was that sick, so that night was a crisis.
Mm-hmm.
They
So
called the priest.
The doctor said, no noise, quiet. Our house was jammed like that. Everybody talked, and we didn't have nerve enough to tell them, well, it's got to be quiet, you know.
Who was in the house?
Friends.
Friends.
To see how he was
All
doing,
the
or?
friends come in, you know, to pay their
He had
respect.
pneumonia, and then he got a little better, and then he got the double pneumonia.
Oh my
Yeah.
gosh.
And the doctor line said, call the priest. They came to the priest.
Oh my
And
gosh.
that Mom sat 3 days and 3 nights holding his hand.
Oh.
And then when that was over with,
Yeah.
we all celebrated.
Oh my gosh.
Then he was spoiled by that.
At that time, my brother had gone in Newark, and if he'd have got a job up there, would have probably followed it up there.
Yeah,
And he got called back, and that was a happy day because, boy, who wanted to live up in Newark?
Tell him.
Where were you living then? In Janesville?
No.
No.
That's
Seabrook.
up Seabrook.
Seabrook Village.
Out a little further, right? Like
Well,
where
it's all-
Seabrook School was and stuff?
Yeah.
That out there?
It's not there anymore.
Oh,
Did
okay.
you have to tell her about going to war and how you got there and
Yeah.
Oh,
you played
gone to war.
football? And it was a
Oh,
war.
my. I was really fortunate when I went to war. I didn't see nothing. All I did was fix airplanes, and that was it.
Mm-hmm.
Never bombed, never strafed, never in any action. The only action we had was one night when they dropped flares on our field
Where was that?
in France. And what was it? Avalanches, France.
Mm-hmm.
We were in the apple orchard. And I dove in the foxhole, and I dove in head first. And I couldn't get out. I had a heck of a time getting out.
Yeah, but it was sad when your planes didn't come home.
Oh, yeah, well, yeah, we lost
Oh.
airplanes, we lost pilots.
So you were a mechanic
Yeah.
fixing the airplanes?
Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
on P-47s. And we thought they were pretty sophisticated, and they were at that time. But over here at the museum in Millville, they have a museum there, which I am a lifetime member, because I was stationed in Millville with B-47s. They had a Warthog, one of these new jet Warthogs, which is a spin-off of the P-47.
Huh.
No comparison. You look at one, you look at the other, and you say, how can there be a spin-off? They're so different. But I got a book home. Tells you all about where I was and went through and everything. Like I say, I was fortunate. In the mornings, when they were having the Battle of the Bulge, we used to get up 3 o'clock in the morning, clean off all the runways and everything so the airplanes could take off. Then we'd go back to bed. But the poor fellas that were in the infantry were out there all night and all day. They couldn't go back to bed.
My brother, he was in the infantry.
Yeah.
Yeah, because he got hurt in France.
How about Santa's brother?
Carmen.
Tommy, he was in
Tommy,
Balch,
he was in the
right?
parachute. And
He was in the
got hurt, too.
paratroopers.
Oh.
Yeah.
And what impressed us, we'd go visit Victor. He was down Goldsboro, down
North Carolina.
different places. We'd go
North
visit,
Carolina.
and he'd take us around the airfields and all. Young kids, they were the pilots.
Yeah.
Young kids, you see all the
Yeah.
young kids there. He said they're the pilots.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, they were the pilots. They were, what, in their early 20s, you know, 19, 20, 21 years old. They were the pilots.
Wow.
And today, you try to, they won't let you on them airfields anymore. You can't get on there.
No, you can't go.
No, down Goldsboro, I was down there, and I wanted to go on there. I said I was the first, you know, one of the first outfits here at Goldsboro. I said, and I'd like to get on, you know, see what the field looks like. He says, you got any identification?
Oh, jeez.
I said, yeah. I said, I got my honorable discharge. He said, what's that? He
Oh,
didn't know what
jeez.
an honorable discharge was.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah. No, you have to go through a lot of rigmarole to get on there.
What else you want to know about it?
Tell me, just for the record, the order of the siblings. Like, you're the youngest, right?
Yeah.
And then, who's
Okay.
next?
I'm the youngest. Flora's next.
Tell them
Rudy.
your age.
Jessie, Tony, Nellie, and Ida. Of course, Annie and Mary passed away.
Right, Mary was the oldest, right?
Mary was the oldest.
And Annie was
Second.
second oldest?
Yeah.
And then there's Fred.
And Mary.
Well, he
Was-
come between Tony
Next
and
to
Nellie.
Nellie.
Yeah, Tony and Nellie.
And then
And he died when he was a teenager, or? How old was he when he was in a car accident? 19 or 20?
19 or 20, yeah. Yeah.
And then we had another brother that passed that we lost. He was only, say, 2 at the most, and he's between Victor and Flora.
Yeah.
What was his name?
Duilio would be
Duilio.
William.
Oh,
And he
I've
was
never
just
heard of
little
him.
big. I remember.
'Cause he was so little.
He was
What happened
so
to him?
cute. He died of pneumonia, flu.
Well,
He had all curly
that was
hair.
the influenza going around then, Nancy.
yeah, that was
The
terrible then, huh?
influenza, 1918, 17,
He
18.
was only,
And then Uncle Tony was a twin.
Oh, right, okay.
Yeah.
Twin died.
but
What was his-
Duilio, he was only 2, but he was so smart and bright. Remember?
Yeah, he lead the
You
band
couldn't
and all.
believe how smart he was.
Then Aunt Annie also lost a little boy, about 1 or
Bear.
2. That's all he was, ain't it?
Yeah.
No, he was at months.
Months, was it?
Yeah.
Well, I remember Ida was
She always
running around the
said 10
fence
months. I
there.
always thought she said 10 months.
He was little. He was big.
What was Uncle Tony's twin's name?
James.
James.
James, and when did he die?
Well, at
He was
birth.
born.
Oh, right at birth. Oh. So, then there were about 9 of you. Is that right? I mean, who
10.
Who,
lived?
10.
Well,
Well, actually, it was
Well,
10.
Fred
actually, it was
lived
10
till he was a
with Fred.
teenager, but, right, so there was 10 with him then, and then,
Yeah, it was
9
Fred,
after
yeah,
that.
It was 10. Yeah.
okay. And how old are you, Uncle Vic?
How old am I
Mhm.
now?
Yeah,
77.
77, and Aunt Ida is the oldest now, right? And how old is she?
89.
89.
Or no,
She'll be 90 in
she'll
July.
be 90 in July.
She changed her bed.
In August, isn't it?
No, not no more.
She changed her
She
birthday?
changed it July.
When?
It was
What do you
August
mean
the
she
1st, and then
changed it?
She changed
She said,
it to July.